just about completed this new playground here we moved it from here to here. And then this area here, we're looking at making that sort of an active play area, but that's going to be sort of phase 2 of the development. Up here as well, we're looking at putting in a new field with artificial turf. Where are we with all this? We will have this playground in place. We'll have this playground in place. This one here, we're still working on the timing for this because it involves parking. We were going to put parking over here, but now that we have put in an additional boarding fence, we can't park here. So we need this parking here. We're trying to look at other options for parking. If we can find them, we can put phase 2 in this active play area in place that much sooner. In terms of the artificial turf, we have the design ready in a couple of weeks. Once we decide how we move forward with the school and if we're going to have it operating as we go forward, we can put out the RFP within a couple of weeks, and we're hoping that we can have this artificial turf and the surrounding landscaping done by the fall, and if we get really lucky, maybe by the start of the school year, but we don't want to overcommit on that. We're shooting for the fall. So that's the plan with the master plan. I've probably taken too much time. I call Fred Stanley here from Forensic Engineering to Walter Springs Engineering to talk very briefly about his report.
Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My experience, as you can probably tell from the title of the company I work for, is a lot to do with after-the-fact events, and those include things that happen on construction sites. And so that's my background that I've brought to the review of ECHO's report and the issues that they've raised and analyzed. I've been asked by the PDSB to look at 2 issues: the process that ECHO followed in developing their report, and I'm not going to repeat what that process was, is Owen Mallett that went through that quite thoroughly, and then to review the mitigation recommendations in the ECHO report, and to tell the TDSB whether those are helpful in reducing the risks that have been identified at the site. So ECHO has carried out their risk assessment, and it generally follows the methods set out in a CSA standard. That CSA standard is Z1002, and it's entitled Occupational Health and Safety, Hazard Identification and Elimination, and Risk Assessment and Control. All those N's are theirs. And so specifically, they follow the principles that are set out in that standard, and that is that hazard and risk are not the same things. Where a hazard exists, there is risk. When we talk about that, and risk is a function of the severity of the harm and the likelihood of occurrence. So these are all standard things that they've gone through in the hazard assessment. So following and as part of that, they use a matrix to assess the risk. That's a standard procedure. They have identified the harms in terms of severity and the risks in terms of probability. All of these things are things that are properly done in the risk assessment. Out of that, they identified health hazards based on 21 conditions or hazards, and gone through and read their report to see what all those different risk assessments are. Most of them were low, 6 were medium, and they have given mitigation measures for some of the medium events and also some of the low ones. And we've heard what those mitigations are, both from Owen Mallett and from Angelos just a moment ago. So I won't go through that list, but our opinion is that all of those things are reducing risk and good things to do, and TDSB is carrying out those ones that TDSB can carry out. Now, some of the recommendations are things that are within KG Group's purview, and specifically I would mention that the plan talks about issues regarding the crane. We've not heard yet any information on the operational plan for the crane. We have heard about installation and inspection, things that are required by health and safety regulations, but nothing not going to swing across the school property. KG, I would expect a fire plan to be part of any construction of this size, and I'm sure KG can provide that. And finally, another thing that was talked about, and I think I talked about for a little bit, is the idea of a third-party review and some sort of mechanism so that issues can be resolved between the school community, the TDSB, and the constructor. I think that's a good idea, and some sort of cooperative process should be developed in that regard. I would say that many of the things in the CMP are also things that are required by a constructor as a result of both health and safety regulations, building regulations, so the building code engineers will be visiting the site to ensure structural safety, to ensure that the shoring is installed correctly, and by city bylaws for things such as vibration monitoring. So it's not, there are things in that CMP that people, professional people are looking at. This is part of the regular process. So, and finally, I was asked some questions by TDSB regarding tieback installation, and as a result of that, I prepared a memorandum discussing the advantages of a tieback shoring installation versus a strutted installation. If the developer can use a tieback installation, the main advantage is the work will go quicker, months quicker, and those are months without construction, and so that is a significant cost reduction activity. Okay.
Thank you, Fred. Just in closing on the section for the TDSB, and again, I point you to the letter that was sent and dated today. Again, the TDSB will comply with all the mitigation measures that are within its control as outlined in chart that's attached to the letter. And we will also then work with the developer and the city to ensure a commitment to and compliance with the mitigation measures that are outside our control. So we believe that the ones that are within our control, we should be able to have in place by September of this year, and the other ones we will work with the other parties involved and the stakeholders to ensure that there is compliance with those as well. Okay, thank you.
We're now going to have a presentation, a brief presentation from Mr. Craig. While he's getting up there, just a note to any parents who are using the chalk here, the room was moved to room 215.
No, they're back in the evening.
Oh, they're back up there. Now they're back.
Thank you. My name is William McRae. I'm a manager in community planning with the City of Toronto. I just wanted to take a note to say thank you very much for attending tonight. And I also want to say thank you for your diligence and attention to this matter. I've certainly in my career here at the city never seen the level of scrutiny that you folks have brought to this project, and I think that's actually a good thing, that that's led to a more comprehensively reviewed project. So I do sincerely thank you for that. Just want to give you I just wanted to give you a very brief City 101 in terms of what we do in our various divisions, and I'll give you a bit of a timeline on the project associated with 18th to 30th Street. So us in city planning, and I have my colleague Cynthia here, so we look after development review. So if you own a parking lot in the City of Toronto and you want to develop it, you come and speak to the planning department. We are very much guided by the city's official plan. That's our guiding document in terms of where growth is intended to be. Eglinton is an urban growth center as dictated by the province in their growth plan. And we go through the development review process with applicants involving various experts in architecture and engineering, dealing with the city, dealing with constituents such as yourselves. We also deal with zoning bylaws. So an applicant would come along and look to make a zoning bylaw amendment to seek approval for some of their plans. Zoning bylaws generally deal with matters such as height, density, setbacks of a building, really issues about the built form and the zoning envelope associated with the project. We also deal with more detailed matters, what we call site plan control. So that's issues such as landscaping and the materiality of the building, the articulation of the building, so the architecture, and various layout, interior layouts and exterior layout of a property. So that's in a nutshell what city planning does, and we've been involved in this project since the early going in pre-application meetings. At the City of Toronto, we also have folks from Toronto Buildings. So I have Diane here, who's the Director of Toronto Buildings for North York District. We also have Sebastian, who's a building inspector with the city. So Toronto Buildings, they deal with demolition permits, they deal with building permits, they deal with compliance with zoning and with the building code. So they're involved in all aspects of the process, generally once planning is done with the project. We also have folks from Transportation Services. So I have Stuart and Carly here. So Transportation Services, among many matters, they deal with traffic operations, but in this particular instance, they deal with right-of-way permits. So when an applicant is seeking to occupy a portion of the public right-of-way for staging or for occupancy of a certain amount of the public property or for hoarding, they deal with occupancy permits through Transportation Services. We also have Ray from Toronto Public Health. So public health generally deals with designated substances involving demolition of buildings. They deal with dust control, and they ensure that there are no impacts during construction outside of a private property. We also have folks who, in what we call MLS, Municipal Licensing and Service, those are generally our bylaw enforcement officers. So they deal with matters such as our noise bylaws and other bylaws that are associated with construction. We have folks in engineering and construction services. They are generally the folks who require construction management plans or construction mitigation plans, which are synonymous. I think people have used those terms interchangeably. I just want to mention that we all have our own individual responsibilities in areas of purview, but we certainly liaise on a regular process. I can say on this project I've gotten to know Carly and Stuart and Diane and Ray certainly much better over the last few months, but we certainly liaise on a regular basis in dealing with the various matters that we deal with across the city. I wanted to just give you a brief timeline on the project here. I'm sure you're all familiar with this, but I think it's important to just remind yourselves a little bit about the history of the application for 18 to 30 Erskine. So the application was first submitted in October of 2012 by the former owner of the site, which was the Pemberton Group. They were a residential condominium developer. City planning, we brought what's called a preliminary report identifying our initial issues with the project. We brought that forward to North York Community Council in January of 2013. That application, in the lovely way that we work, was appealed to the Ontario Municipal Board in April of 2015, so that's the OMB. And they have this strange rule that if City Council doesn't make a decision on an application within 120 days, 4 months, then a developer has a right to appeal the Ontario Municipal Board to seek the Ontario Municipal Board as the approval authority or as the adjudicating authority for matters of rezonings or official plan amendments. So city staff put forward a refusal report in June of 2015, and then there was a mediation scheduled before the OMB, and that's an opportunity for an applicant to liaise with planning staff, with residents, and with any other interested parties. That mediation took place in August of 2015. I should note that there were 4 parties to that hearing. There was the City of Toronto, represented by City Legal and City Planning. There was the applicant, which was the Pemberton Group at the time. There was the Sherwood Park Residents Association, and then the 17 to 30 Keewatin Neighbors Group. The John Fisher Parent School Council was represented by a participant. There was a settlement reached among the parties with the OMB. That decision was brought forward by the OMB in an oral decision in January of 2016. The property subsequently changed hands, and some revisions were made to the plan, including the fact that Pemberton was a residential condo developer and KG is a rental property developer. The OMB issued their final zoning order in January of 2017, bringing forward a bylaw and what we call a Section 37 agreement outlining contributions or benefits towards to be used by the city. And that involved a sum of $1.1 million to be used for streetscaping, street trees, and public realm on Keewatin and in the Young Eglinton area. So from our perspective, the zoning associated with this site is completed, and we're taking that approach. There's subsequently been several meetings, some of you have been involved with. We've had meetings with the councilor's office, we've had meetings with the mayor, the premier, and several of the parent groups. There's been several staff meetings, as I've noted, and certainly a great deal of liaison with the TSB, with their risk assessment consultant ECHO, and obviously with KG Group, the applicant. So a key point here is that from our perspective, the zoning issue is finished. The height, the density, the setbacks associated with this development are, as far as we're concerned, completed. We're in the process of finalizing what we call site plan matters. So the landscaping, the materials of the tower, the articulation or the design of the exterior walls, and some of the interior layout matters. We're in the process of finalizing that, and we're having a meeting with some of the parents tomorrow to discuss that. We're looking to, that site plan matter is typically delegated to city staff. In this particular case, because of the particular interest in the project, the councillor has elevated that to city council. So we're bringing forward a report on that site plan application. We're anticipating it going to the June 13th meeting of Northbrook Community Council. Several of you are also familiar with what we call a Section 111 application, and that's something that deals with rental housing matters. So on the site currently at 30 Erskine, there's a 6-unit, 3-story rental building, and the city has policies in terms of protecting rental buildings. So we, in October of last year, brought forward a report recommending approval of that Section 111 application, and that has been deferred 3 times, and we're hoping that that will go forward in June concurrently with the site plan application on the property. So from a city perspective, we are moving forward on ensuring that the health and safety of staff, students, parents, members of the public is maintained throughout the construction process. We're hoping that the revised construction management plan, so they submitted an initial version in January, they submitted a revised version in April. We're hoping that additional revisions can be made based on comments from city staff and from you folks. That can be made in the next couple of weeks. We're also anticipating some refinements to the site plan application based on commentary from city staff and ideally from some of the parents that we'll receive tomorrow. And then, as I mentioned, we'll bring forward the report on the Section 111 application, the rental housing matter, and the site plan to June Community Council. We want to ensure a safe construction for the site. Your concerns are equally our concerns. We're very much hopeful that the demolition of the existing building and the work that the TDSB is proposing to do with John Fisher Public School can be done in the summer of 2017. I think that's an interest of everyone involved. We have a lot, as you can imagine, we have a lot of development happening in the city, but I want to reiterate that the safety of parents, kids, staff is of utmost importance. So again, thank you for your attention that you brought to this file, and we're hoping to move forward in a safe and productive manner.
So that's the first chunk of information. I know there's been a lot to absorb. First of all, I want to thank all the presenters so far for being brief, and the audience for your patience. The next part is going to be, okay, so now that we have all this information, TDSB has to make some choices, so do parents. And so we're going to ask Jillian and then Andrew to talk about a survey that they have for parents and what the board's decision-making process is going to be following up regarding placement for the kids on September.
Hi everyone, I'm from TDSB Research. I'm just here to give you some quick details about the parent survey that will be going out tomorrow. So in the event that John Fisher Public School is deemed operable through the duration of construction, the TDSB will be surveying John Fisher parents and guardians who currently have children in grades kindergarten to grade 5 on their placement preferences. This survey will be available online. It will open tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and will close at 5 p.m. on the evening of May 9th. A link to the survey will be sent to the priority parent or guardian that's listed in our Trillium information system, and their responses will then be attributed to all their children who are currently at John Fisher Public School, so long as they are between senior kindergarten and grade 5. The survey essentially is 2 questions and should take about a minute to complete, and it's already up on the screen. Because it's small, I'll just quickly go over the questions. What it asks is, 1, please identify your placement preference during the proposed construction period at 1830 Erskine Avenue. And the choices are A, I would prefer that the French immersion program and my child or children remain on site at John Fisher. B, I would prefer that the French immersion program and my child or children relocate to the Vaughan Road Academy building. And C, irrespective of the TDSB's decision on where the French immersion program at John Fisher will be located throughout the proposed construction period, my preference will likely be to withdraw my child or children from John Fisher, and I would prefer a placement for my child or children at a local English school. And then the second question on the survey will be an open text box where parents and guardians have the opportunity to write in a response to the question if there's anything else that they'd like to share regarding their placement preference. So these results from the survey will be collected and tabulated through the Toronto District School Board's research department. And it is our understanding that a move to the Vaughan Road Academy building will be considered should 2/3 of the current student population from senior kindergarten to grade 5 opt to stay in French immersion, as well as a move to the new location. And also in that consideration will have to be taken into whether there will be enough students across grades that are also opting to stay in French immersion and make the move to the Vaughan Road building to run a viable program. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Gowdy from the Board Planning Department. I'm going to speak to the central student placement process and summarized on the slide before you. The timelines on this slide are the same timelines that have previously been shared through an email to John Fisher parents, and also these dates are on the John Fisher School website. So this is the process that parents would follow if they wish to withdraw from the French immersion program at John Fisher and go to an English program school. It's going to be an electronic process. So there's going to be an electronic form available on a website. If you don't have access to the internet, then there will be a workaround. You can go to the school office and they'll facilitate filling out this electronic form. Parents will receive an email that will contain a direct link to this website. And there will be a separate email for each child that a parent has enrolled at John Fisher. And it's important that parents use that link and that child's email, because that's going to provide the specific access to the website custom to that child. Parents will need to enter the Ontario education number into the form, the student's birth date, and sibling information. So it's very similar to the process that parents have gone through to enroll into the French immersion program, which has happened through the process that we call PARS on the board's website. The Ontario education number is available on the top of your report card. The address that we're going to use for centrally placing students into an English program school is the address that is currently in our Trillium student information system. This online application is going to be live next Friday, so that's May 12th. So parents will have until the following week, May 19th, to complete the form on the website. Now, only complete this form if you wish to withdraw from French immersion and go to an English program school. Once the form has been completed, you'll receive an electronic confirmation from us in the planning department. Then planning staff will identify a placement for the student. By May 26th, parents will receive an email from planning offering them a placement at a specific school. Between May 29th and June 2nd, parents can approach the school that they've been offered a place at. They can contact the principal and make an appointment to visit the school. By June 9th, parents need to respond to the placement offer. They either are accepting it or they're declining it. And then the final step in the process is for central staff to complete the registration of the student at the accepted school. We'd like to take this time to give you an update on our work with finding relocation options for the French Connection Child Care Center. So we've been working with French Connection to identify options for the summer for a relocation during the demolition of the building that's adjacent to John Fisher. And we've also been looking for options in the case that the school is relocated to Vaughan Road. Where would the French Connection Child Care Center be located? So during the summer, there is space available at Bedford Park Public School to accommodate French Connection Child Care Center. So on this map here, the red dots show locations of John Fisher students, and the pink lines are junior school boundaries. This is Yonge Street down the middle, and this is Edmonton here. John Fisher is located right here. So Bedford Park lies due north, just on the east side of Young Street, has great access to subway. So that's the summer relocation option. Now, if the result of the survey is that 2/3 of the parents wish to move to Vaughan Road, then we are currently exploring two options for relocating the French Connection. One is to find another TDSB operating school site in the vicinity of John Fisher, so in the vicinity of Yonge and Eglinton. So in this area here, we are exploring the operating schools to find sufficient space to hold French Connection for the next 2 years. If we are successful in finding space that works for childcare as well as for the operating school hosting them, then the time arrangements would be very similar to what parents are experiencing now. You'd have the opportunity to drop your kids off at the childcare between 7:30 and 8. And then the TDSB would bus the school-age students from this TDSB operating school to Vaughan Road. It would take approximately 2 large yellow school buses to do that. Now, the second option that we're exploring is relocating French Connection into Vaughan Road Academy itself. Vaughan Road Academy is located here, approximately 6.5, 7 kilometers from Yonge. And in this scenario, we would identify a central bus stop in the vicinity of Yonge and Eglinton. So an example could be the street that backs onto the Northern Secondary School Placefield. So that would be the central bus stop, and parents could drop their children off at that bus stop at a timing such as between 7:30 and 7:45, and there would be child care staff waiting there. And once the students are dropped off, they'd be in the care of the child care staff. And then TDSB would bus the students from that central bus stop to Vaughan Road Academy. And the child care staff would go on the yellow buses with the students, and then the reverse would happen at the end of the day. The yellow buses would bring the child care students from Vaughan Road back to that central bus stop, and parents would pick them up there. And again, it would be similar time that parents are using now with access to the French Connection. So the next item on the agenda is comments from the school council.
I've not had a chance to meet her, but Tanya's right here, and wanted to afford the school council chairs the opportunity to make some remarks. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Tanya Razik, and I'm the chair of the school council at John Fisher Junior Public School. Before I begin, I want to recognize that new information was provided to parents at about 5:30 p.m. this evening. Like many of you, I imagine that this is possibly the busiest time of the day, and many of you may have not had the opportunity to read the information that was provided, like myself, to fully inform any of this new information. So the presentation that I have prepared may not fully reflect all this new information that was presented, so I apologize for that. However, I still feel that it's very important for me to present what I had originally planned to say. The Parent Council and many individual parents have been engaged with this proposed building since 2013. Any statements made in the past that parents have not been highly engaged in this situation would simply not be true. I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for coming and ask you to keep the focus of the discussion of our children's health, safety, and quality of education as the priority for this evening. I hope that as we sit here tonight, that this is the top priority as we discuss these important matters and how this will affect our children and community. As parents, our goals are to ensure the health and safety of students attending John Fisher Public School, ensure that students have a beneficial learning environment, and to help preserve our French immersion program. It is an extraordinary request to build a 109-meter tower directly adjacent to an elementary school and daycare playground. Higher standards are a requirement. We agree with Mayor John Tory and the developer KG Group that the school should not have to be moved to make way for a new development. ECO Risk Assessment Phase 2 commissioned by the TSB is now complete and includes a series of recommendations for mitigation measures to ensure that the health, safety, and education of our children will not be compromised. The key conclusion is that it is possible to mitigate the risks of development, provided all of the recommendations are met and there is a third party on site daily to monitor, record, review, and enforce mitigation requirements. The Parent Council, and this may seem strong, seriously has concerns and may possibly even feel that they should reject the peer review offered by Walters Forensic Engineering, including that only periodic site review by a third party is required. This is contrary to ECO report, which required daily monitoring and documentation. We would like to request an opportunity to discuss this further with the parties involved. Better information. The Parent Council has a number of questions regarding the analysis and recommendations included in the risk assessment, which we will address in writing directly with the TDSB. It is our understanding that all recommendations must be complied with in full in order to safeguard the health and safety of staff and students attending John Fisher. We ask that the TDSB and the KG Group confirm tonight that all mitigation measures in the risk assessment phase 2 will be complied with in full. In particular, we would like to confirm that the KG Group will accept binding contractual terms to empower the third-party enforcement officer to ensure compliance with the mitigation plan. In the event that all recommendations are not met in full, then it is the Parent Council's understanding that according to ECO, the risks cannot be mitigated and construction would then put children's safety, health, and education at serious risk. If that transpires, construction should not be allowed to proceed. Since the risk assessment states that the risks can be mitigated, this would appear to be as a result of the parties choosing not to meet all the required mitigation measures. The current draft of the risk assessment indicates a number of items where there is a clear disconnect between parties and or the items actually committed to by a party. The Parents' Council looks forward to receiving a final report or plan that details the measures as actually committed to by the parties. I want to thank you all very much for taking the time of your busy schedules and daily routines to come tonight. And please keep in mind the focus of the discussion tonight should be about the health and safety of our children. Thank you that Etienne de Villiers, who is a co-chair of the Parent Council Committee, the Erskine Tower Committee, who would like to say a few words.
Hello, everyone. I was asked to say a few words based on the risk assessment, phase 2-1. Perhaps we could have a show of hands from the panel who's actually read all 69 pages. Thank you. So, I think what we should understand, what we've seen tonight is a remarkable watering down of the risk assessment as it was originally presented to us. I'd like to read a passage out of it. I'm quoting. This is from the conclusions. If, on the other hand, no credible party is on site to monitor and document the constructor's daily activities and empowered to take action when and if necessary, we would deem the risk to fall within an unacceptable range and would not recommend continued occupancy during construction. End quote. Today's surprise, it's a collaborative process. There's no third party empowered to take action. I received the document at 6 p.m. today. I read it briefly and made some changes to my presentation and tried to fix some mechanic stuff so we weren't inconsistent. but we haven't had time to take it all into account. I apologize for handwriting notes. My old presentation was moved by the changes. So following on from what Tammy said, parents now have a report covering what exactly we connected on the site. There's a brief table in the back of the forensic report, which has some measures out of the ECO report, but they don't actually track all the measures in the ECO report. I'll just flip now quickly to my presentation. So key from the risk assessment itself. Is the risk assessment was based on assumptions. It was not committed based on construction plans. There was information listed in the risk assessment that was required from KG that was not provided. And in fact, the report itself, although it said you need these third-party enforcement powers, it did not provide a mechanism for doing so. At the time of the report, the KSB are not committed to all of these things. We understand now that they have, at least in part, and we thank you for that. The one part I will take special note of is the second reporting on the TDS property. One of the reasons I asked if anyone actually read the report is I don't actually understand its placement on the property, so I think it will be made clear a little later. The noise study provided by ECHO probably requires more rigor. They took KG's statements at face value to be no noise emitted above the hoarding height, which seems remarkable to me. This assumption gave KG 6 dB. So this assumption gave KG a 6 dB benefit, and for those of you who don't know, 6 dB, 6 decibels is a doubling for 3, so it's 2 doublings. Okay? So it's a significant concession that there's no noise above the hoarding. We also found the traffic study to be deficient. The second report, the Walters report, it basically called for enhanced or extreme vigilance, I can't remember what the words were. The parents have been calling for some time, and myself called publicly since at least November of last year, that there be no construction traffic enter or exit the site during pickup and drop-off times. I will note from the documents presented by KG that the construction traffic was going to go right across the school bus drop-off. These requests have been repeatedly ignored by all parties. Back to noise and playground usage. So, outdoor playground access was all ignored in the noise analysis. ECHO did make recommendations to limit children to the current staff parking lot on the east side of the school. Even this is unclear if it's sufficient if the noise source is above the barrier. I'll notice that in the presentation tonight, the recommendation ECO is completely forgotten, and now the hoarding is a few feet away from the lot line. My review of the noise calculator that ECO used, the analysis does need more rigor. I looked online to find construction noise levels, and they said often construction noise exceeds 90 decibels. If you place the 90 decibel source 5 meters back from the hoarding, you get a 56 dB sound pressure level 60 meters from the hoarding on school property. I'll show you what that looks like just now. Here's the calculation, so you can do it for yourself. So here's the school site. The TDSB hoarding, which we just found out about now, is actually, except the red dash line close to the left side of the diagram. I've marked in the distance of 44 meters, which is provided by ECHO, as the distance to the far west wall. According to ECHO's own report, they said the noise at that point would be 67 to 69 decibels. Is that a lot? But who's recommended maximum? The maximum for children is 55 dB. So according to the ECHO report, you can't be outside of it. Now, you can either not believe the ECHO report, You can do a more rigorous sound analysis, or you can accept that you can't be outside of it. I don't think you can locate a playground in that location. The analysis I did on the previous slide was 60 meters I put in. And you can see I drew on the diagram roughly where 60 meters is. It's not exact, it's not the scale. But you can see it actually intersects with the licensed player in the front of the school. That would be 56 dB, which is the maximum. So, I think a lot of these presentations tonight is very disappointing for me. I've been fighting this, spent a lot of time away from my family, working very hard, and these presentations get dropped on us at the last minute every time, and the level of rigor is so poor. And the time that's leave it to the floor for questions, and thank you for coming.
So could we turn the house lights on too? Let everyone see everyone else. Thank you for your presentation. You raised some questions, and I think that's great. The purpose of tonight was, first of all, provide some information, but the second part is perhaps the more important part, which is to give voice to members of the community, all members of the community who wish to contribute, wish to either ask questions and clarifications around the mitigation, the studies and the mitigation, or the second part, of course, which was the survey, student placement, and what follows in the options and choices the parents will have. As I mentioned, we have two microphones set up, one on each side for anybody who wishes to come forward as well. Leanne and Marlene. Leanne is over here, Marlene is over there. They do have paper available if people are not comfortable and would like to write questions. I can certainly and would be happy to ask. The only ground rule is this meeting is whatever you want to make of it. I hope the tone will be respectful. And my goal is to help you to get answers to any questions that you might have. So I'm going to go to the microphone first, and then I have a written question after. If speakers wish to, please identify.
My name is Stavros Lucas. My son is in grade 2 in the genetics class. My question is for TDSB, Los Angeles, representing TDSB. If the measures that you hope, all hope that KG will adapt, if they are not met and you feel that there's a compromise to the health and safety of the children, has the TDSB prepared to hire a litigator to bring this to court as needed to protect the health and well-being of children without being bullied into moving the school?
What's up?
Can you hear me? Thank you for the question. Right now, we're in the process of having discussions with the city and with the KG group. There's a meeting tomorrow that's being hosted by the local council for the area, in which further discussion of the construction management plan will be put in place. We will see. Certainly, there's been a lot of issues raised in the ECHO report. The ones that are within our purview, we will work to put those in place within a timely manner, within the timelines that were required by the ECHO report. The other ones that are beyond our control, we will work with the city and the developer to ensure that that they are addressed to the satisfaction of the TDSB.
So I guess if they are not to the satisfaction of the TDSB, will you A, move the school, or first hire a litigator to do everything that you can in your power to ensure that this school stays operated, stays open, and is done so in a manner that is safe for our children?
We believe that we can work with all the stakeholders to come up with a satisfactory plan going forward. But for some reason, there are severe gaps in the mitigation measures that are required. We will take whatever action is appropriate to ensure that they are either put in place or that we have to reevaluate our position on whether the school stays open or not.
Okay, I'm going to go to this microphone over here. Sir, and then I've got my next written question, and then you
Can you hear me?
can hear you. Your
Thank
name,
you very
please?
much. My name is Taylor. I have a son in grade 4. I moved to this neighborhood specifically to come to John Fisher a long time ago, and many people in this room have made very large investments individually to be able to come to the French Immersion in Young Eglinton. We work along the subway line. We are doing what the province has asked us to do, and my question is, everything I hear here seems to be to accommodate, the TDSB seems to want to accommodate construction being done very quickly, and I'm not sure why. To me, the TDSB serves the public, I know that for a fact, but I don't see it here in this presentation. So I would like to know who's going to pay for a lot of these measures. I don't think we've heard much about that. I hope the public won't pay.
For the first question,
I have a lot of questions, but let's go with that, and then we'll just cycle through.
sure. Angela, you take that one?
Sure, and I'm sorry, you might have to structure your question again to give it to me in parts, but the one that I did catch was who's going to finance it. A lot of the measures that have been put into place, or the mitigation measures that have been requested through the ECHO report, we have money in our capital budget to address those issues. We were going to replace the windows, we were going to do painting, we were going to move the playground. So the majority of the monies that are required for the mitigation measures are in our capital budget. It's a matter of advancing, it's the priority that we set to them now. We have priorities across at 584 schools, and now we're just looking at the priorities and establishing that this is the highest priority for us in this area, and we're going to ensure that we meet the timelines. But the funding, the majority of it is in our capital budget.
And I want the media here to take a note of that fact, that the public is funding a huge portion of this. And if the TDSB will not stand up, that is fine, but we as community members will stand up. It is not acceptable. I'm going to let other people speak, but I'm just going to ask, how many people here want to stop this tower?
All right, we're going to move on to our next question. It's a written question, thank you, sir. It's from Colleen. She has a question for Mr. Katz, and it's, how do the developments next to or adjacent to schools, as you mentioned in your presentation, how many were approved by the City of Toronto, and was there intervention at the OMB?
Can't answer that, I don't know.
Your lawyer can. Fair enough, fair enough.
Who's here?
If he doesn't know, he doesn't know. Sir.
My name is Gerdin Milovic. I have 2 kids at John Fisher. One is in grade 1 and the other is a French connection. My question is, everything that we've heard tonight, and I'm sorry I'm late, I just came in, I had to cut a business trip short just to be here for this meeting, so I've been from Cincinnati. Everything we've heard so far, at least since I've been here, has been focused on the construction. What are the risks when the tower exists? And what are those, how are we going to mitigate those risks? And who's going to be responsible for that after you guys are done with your construction plans?
Can you explain what you mean by what are the risks from the tower? What kind of risks are you referring to?
Well, I'll leave that up to the experts to know exactly what's going on, but there's a 35-story tower very close to a school. What are the risks about stuff falling off balconies and everything else that's associated with having a tower next to a school?
Okay, well, Mr. Katz, or perhaps after that, Mr. Ballard and Mr. Stanley.
A couple of issues. With regard to the impact, I'll speak to one, shadows. It's required by the process, extensive shadow studies have to be done originally by the Pemberton Group, who owned the property prior to ourselves. And through that process, it was determined that the shadow impact, in fact, is minimal beyond what the existing buildings that are already in the community, in the location, provide. So in terms of a shadow impact, there's virtually none. That was demonstrated and had to be documented in presentation to the OMB. With regard to your question about balconies, very, very few, I think 3 or 4 units, in fact, will have balconies that face other than south, west, and east. The balconies that face east primarily end at the school itself, so there is no jeopardy to the playgrounds and areas like that. I think there's only about 3 or 4 balconies that are not in that category. So it's very, very
Did Mr. Malik or Mr. Stanley want to comment on risks post-construction?
I think maybe I might associate with the response.
Well, if you look at the report and the summary chart of the risk assessment, we did look at risks when the building is completed because we were asked to do that by the parents and the GDSB. For the phase 2 risk assessment, we did rate those risks as low or very low. And as Owen explained, that doesn't mean they don't exist. I mean, there always are risks of things falling, of coming off buildings. Clearly, if those are managed well, that's not going to happen. We cannot say it does not exist. It's a matter of the ongoing management, and again, that relationship with the building management and the TDSB in this case. One of the risks we identified in the phase 1 assessment was exhaust from the parking garage, and we flagged that in the phase 1 assessment, and we're very glad to see that that, in fact, was a plan that was changed on the plan, so that they moved the exhaust from the parking garage further away from the school. So we've reduced our rating of that risk. And if you look at the others, there will be increased traffic, but we consider that to be a relatively low risk considering the volume of traffic we have already. So there are no risks that we rated as being medium or high.
I guess it depends
Yeah.
whose perspective you're looking at from, what's medium, high, or low. I guess the final question is, would you folks recommend your families to send your kids to John Fisher School during this mess? Would you do that?
Would I do that?
Yeah, would you do that?
Yes, actually, I probably would. If all these risk mitigation measures were taken, yes. If I was confident that the building was being managed so you did not have things falling off of it, and that traffic was managed properly.
60 decibels.
And, our conclusion is
Fair.
it can
Another answer?
be mitigated.
Okay, the next question, there's no name, but did the TDSB consider buying the parcel of land, 1830 Kristen Avenue, and eliminate the risks altogether? I don't know what the cost is, but does somebody want to take that question?
I'll take a stab at it, although I'm not with the planning department, but no, we did not consider that option. The monies that we have that are provided to us are by the Ministry of Education, and we get funding for the operation of our schools, which includes the teachers, the principals, the caretaking, the maintenance, and we also get money for the capital repairs on our schools, but we do not get funding for land acquisition.
I have another written question. Oh, sorry, ma'am, are you at the microphone?
No, sorry, we don't want you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize.
Sorry.
My apologies.
Sorry, you're saying, we're being super late. I have a question for the KG group.
Sure, your name, please.
Sorry, Mary Mowbray. I have a question for the KG group. I just want to follow up on the TSB response to Taylor's question. I feel it's rather disingenuous to suggest that the money for the capital funding for all of this work is just sitting there waiting to be spent. John Fisher was built in 1885, and it has a very considerable backlog of work. It's already been identified by the TSB. It's available on the website. And of the 34 items that are listed as urgent, high, medium, only one is among the list of measures the TSB is now going to go and spend money on, and that's windows. None of the other stuff. there's no money sitting around for a buffer zone, a hoarding, moving a play area into what was a parking lot. There's also no money, by the way, for redoing the SK play area that was just done, if half of it turns out to be in an area that is far too loud for kids to be playing in. So only one item is on that list. But my question is for the KG group. I've heard repeatedly in the newspaper and tonight and on your website that children's safety and health is your #1 priority. And that you're going above and beyond what are normal construction practices and what is required by the City of Toronto. So my question is really pretty simple. I did read the risk assessment. I worked pretty closely with the TSB when they started it. And I did read a lot of that 700-page report, including those environmental reports from 2010, the 35 or 8 pages of filler about the, road places and stuff like that. And I read the pages that actually related to the construction. So here's my question. Since safety was #1, and children were your #1 priority, why did you not complete and provide the information that ECO requested to do the risk assessment? Why did you not complete a noise modeling study? You didn't. You refused to. Why did you not complete a noise mitigation plan? You wrote a 2.5-page, sorry, you did not write, you provided a 2.5-page letter instead of a noise modeling study and instead of a noise mitigation plan. Your traffic management plan, right here. This is it. It's 1 page. That's 700 pages. But this is your traffic management plan.
Okay, well, that's Mary, you've asked 2 questions. Let's get it next. So, Mr. Garrett, or?
Let me deal with traffic first. Good question. To do a traffic study for a large-scale development, you have to take into account not only the development itself, not only the existing traffic counts that are on the VC counts they're called, on the street and at the intersections, but you have to provide for all developments that will be in the pipeline in the future to come. So not only, this is the rules of the City of Toronto, I'm not making this up, they're here right now. That was incorporated when it went through the zoning process. Let me complete this. So when you design a building like this and you do a traffic study, you are have to include all of the traffic on Yonge Street, all of the existing traffic on Erskine, taking into account the school and everything else, and you have to build into it the formulas, all the approved developments that aren't even built yet, but that would potentially be in the pipeline. The VC Council, that's the term that's used for traffic at the intersection on Yonge Street. The traffic generated by this building would be a grain of sand on the beach. It's that high. So traffic is not where you want to go. It's just not. You're also
It's construction traffic, not your tenants.
You're also 2 blocks from the intersection of subways, one finished and one that will be finished shortly, in 2 directions, of which there are only about 4 locations in Canada that have that much mass transit. So,
But that's not relevant to your question.
Construction traffic.
Sorry, just a second. If children were your #1 priority, you could have done a traffic safety study. Your traffic management plan, this is what it consists of. It's basically summed up as trained traffic coordinators with bright colored reflective vests. And that barely mentions, it actually states that, yes, if there's a lot of construction traffic on Erskine, pedestrians on the sidewalk might be at risk. You know what those pedestrians are? Those are the children. They go to the school. They don't airdrop everywhere. We're not concerned about the traffic and young ladies. And here's the point. You had every chance to do whatever you wanted to have limitations on the hours that deliveries were made to the site. You had the chance to do whatever you wanted. You had the chance in January when you presented your boilerplate CMP that mentioned the school 3 times,